good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We've got Christy with us, and she is excited, and she said she's a little bit nervous. I'm not sure why. We're not a real scary group, but she is. She said she is. And she's been doing a lot of homework and prep for us. There's Christy, and we're excited to be here with you guys. And Christy's real excited to talk to you and share with you. And let's go through a couple of intro things just to orient us before we start, before Christy begins her presentation, and then we'll introduce Christy, and then she'll talk to us for an exciting 30 minutes or so, and you can ask her some questions, and then we're going to look at your work. She has picked out up to 14 of the pieces to address, to talk to, and so good on you guys that got your work in real early. Gave her a little chance, but she noticed pieces were still coming in this morning, which is fine, but we get into the crunch mode time. But you can always send her a promotional postcard after you've learned from her today what makes a good promotional cover postcard. We're going to be talking all about that. Yeah, so here are the couple of things we always go through just to make sure that everybody's getting the most experience, the best experience out of this live YouTube event. It's live, but it's kind of closed to our group of subscribers. It's an unlisted program. So you can click the full screen button under the viewer, under your player. It's on the bottom right. Full screen. I'm sure you guys know how to do that to watch it full screen. You can also go over to the settings icon, which is like a little gear icon under the viewer, and click that and adjust the resolution all the way up to 720 pixels, and that gives you the sharpest clarity for the images, and it's particularly nice for seeing the artwork and the images online. Everything comes up about as crystal clear as you can ever hope to see on your monitor. So you can do those two things. If the program suddenly stops, freezes on you mid-screen, sometimes just clicking the refresh button, the browser window refresh button will reestablish your connection with the browser, and we'll be back streaming live for you. So if it freezes, you've just lost your connection for a few seconds. And what was the other thing I wanted to tell you? We've got 2 more sessions left in our drawing children workshop series. One will be next month with Juana Martinez-Neal, who just won the Pura Belpre Illustrator Award for this year, a major award from the American Library Association. She will be talking to us in April. I said April 25th, but I've had a schedule conflict come up, so I might have to adjust that date with her, but I'll let you know as soon as we establish our specific time. And she's a wonderful, very talented illustrator. And that is coming up in April. And then in May, we're going to have kind of a debrief session with just me. It won't be a formal critique, but it'll be a time for you guys to upload any revisions that you've been working on as a result of the workshops that we've been doing. If you wanted to take one last stab at getting that promotional piece up for Christy or just whatever, it's a chance for us all to get together in a kind of a group hangout and just review the work, review the takeaway points that have made the biggest impressions on us, and just a time to visit. And there will be no time limit on that. And we'll also look at everything that you submit in the way of revisions. We won't be critiquing per se. We'll just be showing the pieces and chatting about them and having fun. It'll be a after party, a workshop series after party, a new concept. Okay, and so that will be in May, and then that will conclude the drawing children workshop series. Christy, am I leaving anything else out? I'm trying to think. Is there anything you want to tell them all to take a deep breath as we go into the program?
Let's all take a deep breath. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm on stage.
We're both a little. We're always nervous at these things, Christy. This is kind of because it's such a real experience. Let me introduce Christy, and let me make sure also, while I'm introducing her, let me make sure you guys can hear us and see us okay. So would you just type a Y in if you can hear and see okay, and type it into the chat box. You see the chat box on the top right. Just type, we do this every time. You know the drill. Let us know you can hear us and see us. And
am I supposed to be seeing the chat box? No, right?
no, well, no, you won't, Christy, but would you like me to send you the link to the YouTube watch page that they're all looking at? I can do that, and you can pull it up if you want. Okay. Otherwise, I'll be your eyes and ears on that page. Yeah, I know it might get a little crazy for you, but I just, in our little chat window in our control room, I've sent you the link to the watch page. As soon as you pull it up, if you want to pull it up, just turn the sound off on the page so it doesn't confuse us with double audio. And then you'll see the chat box, and I will also try to be in help with that for you. And good. Have I got yeses yet? Yes, the yeses are there. So let me now introduce Christy, and then we're going to sit back and take lots of notes from her. You know, this is our first agent in the Drawing Children workshop series, which makes this program real special. And I've always found agents to be literary agents and art reps to be really interesting. It's just such an interesting thing, because when you think about it, they are the arbiters of culture and taste, and they're typically just as smart as any editor out there, and they are the ones out ferreting the material, looking at what's out there, and then bringing certain works to the attention of vastly overworked editors. And they are just such an important mediary, and they have such an influence on our culture as a society. And this seems to me to become particularly important with children's books, because they are working on the foundations of literacy for the children in our country, English-speaking countries, and they are setting it out. They are building our culture, and they are really having a huge influence on all these young minds out there. So I just think it's real exciting that we've got an agent with us today, and Christy has just been wonderful to work with, and she has been rooted in the children's literature. This is from the CAT agency website. She's been rooted in the children's literature industry since her mom, Christy Tugeau, started the agency in 1994, and she's been surrounded by artists her entire life. Aside from her mother, her brother Jeremy Tugeau is an exceptional fine art and children's illustrator, represented by his wife Nicole at Tugeau 2, whom we have had a great workshop from in the past at Guest Group Critiques. Christy's husband, Chris Ewers, is an artist and a talented cinematographer and filmmaker. Christy has a degree in English and in journalism, and over a decade of experience in various creative fields. She offers a different perspective to the agency with that background, while maintaining the enthusiasm and love that her mother brings to the industry. Aside from writing, her interests include seaside escapes, very hot coffee, and pit bulls named Gertie. How many pit bulls named Gertie do you? And of course, grandchildren, children, Billy and Finnegan are the CAT agency's resident experts and critics. And you can see a picture. Oh, you changed the picture. You don't have your children up there on the website anymore. They were so cute.
Oh, they're not on the site. Yeah, it's just me looking.
Just you. Okay. And Billy has over 5 years of experience in the world, as she did then when this was written, and has formed a deep love of unicorn literature and all things pink, purple, anything licious. Okay, we know what books that evokes. Finn boasts a robust background in cars and trucks, with a specific expertise in Mr. Tiger Goes Wild. Billy currently enjoys using every crayon in the box, while Finn likes to spend his free time dancing to the Imperial March. That's the Darth Vader theme from Star Wars. The most recognizable piece of music in the world, I think.
That's right.
Okay, so Christy, we are so excited to have you with us. Welcome, and I will if you want me to interrupt you with the burning questions that I see, I can, or we can hold them off until you finish certain segments of your, what would you?
Yeah, let's just see what happens organically.
Organically,
If you
good.
want to jump in, if something seems like it would be a good segue, if I said something that seems like it would be a good segue, or somebody asks a question that would then take someplace that would be interesting.
We'll go organic. Okay,
yeah,
that always works great. Well, welcome, and we'll sit back and let you teach us.
Great. Well, thank you. I want to thank you for having me. This is such an honor. I really appreciate you thinking of me to do this, and to all the people out there. It's like over 100 or something. I really appreciate having this opportunity to be a guest instructor, and also just to have seen the artwork come in. I know how difficult it can be to put your artwork out there to be critiqued, especially in front of a lot of people and live, and then a lot of people after the fact. So it takes a lot of courage to do that, and I appreciate it a lot.
They're brave. They're a brave group for sure.
Yeah,
and they're very supportive of each other.
Good.
It's always been that way. I don't know why we got so lucky with our group, but we did.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad. I'm happy to hear that. And I have to say that as much as I hope that this is a learning experience for everybody out there, it has been a huge learning experience for me as well. Because it's something I do every day. I'm always critiquing and thinking about what our clients want and what our artists are sending in and how they're doing on their projects and all this. But at the same rate, it really forced me to take a big chunk of time and focus on just that, because, during the day, sometimes it's invoicing, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's different things at once. And if I'm trying to look at something with a critical eye, I could be pulled in a different direction 5 minutes later. So this forced me to sit down and spend, chunks of time, like hours, just looking at everything through a critical eye. And I zeroed in, and it was a huge and wonderful learning experience for me. So thank you.
Very cool. Great. We're happy to do it, Christy.
So, as we had discussed that, you thought might be interesting for me to talk a little bit about, is, our transition or just what it's like to be an agent and what we're looking for as the liaison between illustrators and author illustrators and clients and art buyers, and especially coming from from being an agency that used to just be strictly illustrators, and now we're branching out a little bit more into the literary aspect of things with a lot of author illustrators. I'd say about 50% of our group are author illustrators as well. And how we treat those differently, and how we plan on moving forward, which I thought was a good way to start. And to be honest with you, there isn't much of a difference between how we handle and treat our strictly illustrators and our author illustrators, or how we look for both out there in the world when people are submitting to us, or what we look for in their portfolios. It's the same, because we are an illustration agency. First, that's what we are. We're not accepting just manuscripts at the moment. So, we're not a literary agency. We don't have that branch. We might at some point in the future. But, for now, we start with the artwork, and we build from there. And, it's definitely my opinion, and not just my opinion, that in order to be a successful illustrator, you have to be a good storyteller. So I have the theory that, every successful illustrator is actually an author in one way or another. Whether or not they decide to put that hat on and actually put text onto a page is neither here nor there. I think, in order to be really successful, you have to be somewhat of an author, because you're making decisions. Even if you're illustrating somebody else's manuscript, you're still making major storytelling decisions, just by clothing that you put your characters in. You're making decisions. You're thinking about what they would think about in the morning as they're picking out their clothes, and then you put them on the character. That in and of itself is storytelling. It's character development, and you're building worlds and homes and environments for the people and the stories that you're illustrating that may not have been part of the illustration notes from the art director or the author. So whether or not anybody, we have a lot of illustrators who are like, no, I'm not an author. I don't write. And I think to myself, well, I give you a prompt, when we do our portfolio mailings, I usually give a prompt. Our most recent one was a time period or an era, and they have to come up with 2 sequential scenes, one front, one back of the postcard, and it has to be like brand new. It can't be from a book. It has to be original and created just for that promotional postcard. And these people who say I'm not an author, they come up with these stories. Between the front and the back of a postcard, it's a story. So and that's often what happens. I have found that the trend in publishing, not maybe the trend, but a trend that I'm hearing often with a lot of the different publishers are that they're starting with the artwork first. Even editors who are acquiring manuscripts, even they are coming to us saying, I love this piece. Is this a story? Is this a dummy that I can look at? Is this from an existing book? Can we expand upon this? We just took on an illustrator who, kind of wanted to dip a toe into being an author, but, didn't feel confident enough to put anything down on paper. So we actually had an editor say, I love her artwork so much. Would you mind if I sent this to one of my author friends to see if we can build upon
Wow.
Just one illustration that happened to catch her eye, and it wasn't a part of an existing story from this illustrator. And so she said, let me send it to an author. So,
wow.
And that's an editor who is reviewing manuscripts all day, but even she saw that one image that happened to inspire her to want to be, to have an entire picture book built around it. So you just never know.
the power of the story character.
Right.
Character.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. So, I guess my point is that we don't, at least as far as the CAT agency, we don't have 2 different sets of standards for our author illustrators or just our strictly illustrators. Everything has to come from, the ability to create beautiful artwork and to tell a good story, a good visual story. And we had discussed, maybe talking about some things that we specifically look for, and then also some pitfalls. Mm-hmm. So I listed a few of those things. What we look for, and what I think a lot of illustration agencies, and even the agencies that have full literary, branches, that we all kind of looked for the same thing, because it's what we're hearing from clients of what they're looking for. So, again, we're the liaison, we're the pass through. So what we hear, we want to then look for ourselves. So we have to be able to show robust portfolios with lots of samples, ranging from all different kinds of things. It's children's illustration, so we do have to show children. You wouldn't believe how many submissions I get with no children at all. That's not to say that I wouldn't take on somebody who didn't have. I was actually in talks with an illustrator who had such amazing animal characters that I overlooked the fact that she didn't have any human characters. But that was a special situation. Usually, you have to show children. You have to be able to illustrate children and humans, and and really work on that craft, because I know that it can be more difficult than illustrating animals. So we look for that. We look for animals, both anthropomorphic and not. Being able to tell a story with sequential scenes. That's definitely something I look for. And we do have a few illustrators that we currently represent who don't really have that in their portfolio, and it has hurt them, because when our clients go to look at our illustrators to see, who they would like to consider for a project, they want to be sure that this person can, have consistency of character, can tell a story over several different illustrations, 2 or 3. 3 would be great, from different points of view, from, just different ways of composing the story, but in this, within the same, sequential scenes, and they want to be able to see that. So it actually does hurt our illustrators who don't have that. And, I often get emails saying, this person does great one-off illustrations, but can we see several that have the same?
Would you like to see a whole portfolio filled with 2 to 3 sequence kinds of things, panels, or is that what you're? A good representation.
It's not necessary. I think that maybe in a portfolio, if you were to have 15 illustrations, for instance, maybe doing, 2 or 3 sequential scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple, to just prove that you can carry a story, because it is sometimes difficult for us and for our clients and publishers to say, this person does beautiful artwork, but I don't know if they can fill a 32-page picture book and or tell a story, because it takes a certain degree, a whole other level of talent and ability to be able to do that. And so they need to see that, and so do we.
And understanding that's really what the children's literature is all about, is the storytelling. So
right, yeah, it's pretty much all visual. I mean, there's wordless picture books, and there are picture books. They're supposed to be around 1,000 words or under. But I mean, even these days, the sweet spot seems to be 500 or 600 words, which is not a lot. So we're relying a lot on illustration. So you have to be able to show that you can carry a picture book or a chapter book or something. You have to show it.
A good question has come in, Christy, from Diane, and she is asking, what type of clients contract here? Can you give it? And I think she means by that, who are you marketing the artwork to?
Across the board, actually. Thanks, Diane, for asking. We represent illustrators. We try to keep our group diverse, in terms of age group. So because we have clients that run from the 0 to 3 board book genre all the way through to YA covers. So it's children all encompassing, and also magazines, children's games, of all ages as well. So we, our clients include anybody from, people making board books for really young children, and then picture books, obviously, chapter books, middle grade novels, and YA.
Is this the trade market, or is it? Do you also work with educational market?
Trade and educational. Both. I'd say we're a little bit heavier in trade. I'd say it's maybe 70-30 in with our trade clients, but we do a lot of educational work as well. So.
And trade is the bookstore market, guys. It's the commercial market where the books sold on Amazon and the Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the books you see on the shelves that you're looking at.
Books you see on the shelves, and then and including in school and public libraries.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then the educational market is often just pertaining to classrooms and special education.
Yeah. Which you don't see quite as often unless you have a school-aged child. Unfortunately, we do a lot of educational books, and our illustrators are always like, "Oh, can we get?" I mean, it's hard to even get copies of them for the illustrators.
Oh, really? Yeah, the distribution is completely different. That's not to say that trade books don't cross over into the educational market and you're using supplemental. Right. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so we run the gamut as long as it's child friendly. So unless you have another question, I can just.
Well, there is a question, and I suspect a lot of you guys have a question like this. And of course, she's going to kind of answer this universally in the program, guys. But Anne is saying, "Hi, Christy and Mark. I'm writing a middle grade story that will include many of my illustrations. Is this something your agency would be interested in seeing?" So there will be. I'm sure you'll hear this, and you might address it. How would someone present their story artwork proposal package to you? What would you want to see? How can we impress you with that? So at your convenience, you can address that.
Okay, it is on my list, but I don't mind jumping into it now so I don't forget. Okay. That specific question is Unfortunately, we don't have the bandwidth right now to really take on middle grade novels. I'm happy to look at and to consider chapter books and early readers and picture book manuscripts and board book manuscripts. But as far as middle grade goes, we just don't have the bandwidth yet. And I say yet because there are things in the future. But, we do hope to someday be able to consider submissions for the older age groups, but right now we just don't. I would be happy to take a look at the artwork involved and weigh in on that. But as far as considering taking on an author illustrator in that genre, I'd be apprehensive. I feel like there are better agencies or agencies better suited for that. That I don't know if I'd be able to really give the kind of feedback that an author of a middle grade novel would need.
What about graphic novels and middle grade books? I think you've sort of answered part of that.
Yeah. I mean, same with graphic novels. We do have, for the older group, we have a lot of clients who I know do they publish graphic novels, but again, we don't have a great foothold there, and I just don't know if my expertise or my mother's expertise could really do the project any justice. I do have some clients and some friends who work in the older genres who I could reach out to, but those are big asks, to say like, oh, what do you think about this?
But you have shown us how a promotional mailing postcard with implying a middle grade novel has led to projects and work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it would definitely pique interest, I think. But that's why we're starting with the artwork, I think. Yeah. Because that's what we're known for. That is our wheelhouse. So to start with, yes, I mean, we could represent somebody and their middle grade novel that they've written and illustrated by sending out a postcard or a promotional something to the clients who work in that age group. And then if they were interested in seeing the manuscript, then I'd be happy to send it along. But as far as doing, as far as giving the kind of feedback and or editorial feedback like that, literary agencies do for that age group, I wouldn't feel confident in telling somebody to edit it, or I wouldn't want to take a shot at editing just in case.
Makes sense.
Exactly my expertise. But someday.
I see it in the future.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not a bad idea for somebody who has done that to send out postcards and then have a little blurb on there saying, this is from a manuscript that I've written, or even just kind of like the elevator pitch to the manuscript, just somewhere in fine print on the postcard, because, it's kind of like doing a cover. It's like, do I want to open this book? And it goes the same way for clients receiving postcards.
Got it. Thank you. Good. Sorry to have interrupted.
Oh no, that's okay. I was just before we got sidetracked a little bit. I was just talking about what we look for, in portfolios. One of the things that I really wanted to talk about that I've seen, it's also in the pitfall. I know my pitfall notes is illustrating humans in general, and it's something that we're always talking to the illustrators that we represent about, is that we can pretty much always tell who takes figure drawing classes, or who has taken figure drawing classes, or who's working from life, because or sketching, like doing daily sketches from life, because they just have a real grasp of movement, and that is so important when you're illustrating for children, and especially expression as well. One of the things that I'm always hearing from clients is that they're looking for expression, but not. It doesn't have to be like crazy expression, shocked face. It could be subtle, but it is really important because we're illustrating for children, and even in the older genres as well. But kids are learning learning about emotion and expression and how to read somebody's face, how to express themselves, and how to register how somebody's feeling, whether or not it is, and sometimes when it's very subtle. So this is how they're learning. And so it's really important to be able to do expression, and also body language and body movement is also really important, because again, kids are learning how to hold themselves and how to express themselves with their body language and the way that they move. And so if you're not practicing, an actual, like going to like a figure drawing class or something, and if you're not actually practicing with sketches, then it does come through. I feel like a lot of times people get tight or stiff, and that could be your style, if that's your illustration style. But just having a comfort to the movement of the illustrations is really important, and it's something that we look for, certainly.
Yeah.
If you have a baby at your disposal, or if you have a toddler, a young child, then sketch them. If you can, sketch them crawling and cooing and, doing the happy baby pose. And even, your kids, if they're watching TV, that's a good time because they're sitting still, but they're still making facial expressions, to just quickly sketch them, because that is, and I think you probably heard a lot about that from Patrice Barton.
Patrice and the other illustrators, this has been certainly a big theme that's been hit over and over in our series. Yeah.
So that's definitely something we look for, because sometimes we'll see portfolios that have incredible artwork and backgrounds and scenes and really great, very appealing animal characters. And then you get to the humans and it's, it's like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna work on this, So it's just something to work on, to hone your skills in that way. It's something we look for, and clients obviously do too.
Great.
And non-creepy babies is always something that people are looking for.
Non-creepy babies. Okay, make a note. I'm making a note. Non-creepy babies. Work on your non-creepy babies, Peg. Okay.
It's easy to make babies creepy for some reason. So we take into consideration whether or not we see somebody's artwork style being more in the trade book, more geared towards trade book or educational books. We take that into consideration too. Obviously we look for composition, perspective, having fun with perspectives, use of white space. And we like to look for a, like a wow piece. Okay. I could show some examples of some actually that maybe I'll do that now.
Oh yeah, we'd love it. Yeah.
Because I'll just show you some examples of some of our artists' work that people say wow about. Here's one. This one definitely. This is from Katie Betts. This is a wow piece for a lot of our, our middle grade.
Wow. Wow, it's exciting.
Okay. Just one of the when we're going through portfolios and I'm with them in person, I just make little notes that, people go, oh, what's that? Uh-huh. This one, especially from Zindi Yan, she is incredible. She comes from enter full screen? Yeah. She comes from an animation background. And one of the things, especially with covers also, we hear constantly about the use of light. And my critiques, you'll hear me say this a million times because it's on every one of my notes that I took. But, being able to, like, there's a window here to the left that we don't see, but it's casting this incredible light onto these two characters. And this is a big wow piece for Zindi.
Yeah.
And people go nuts. And that's something that we look for too. The use of light is huge. Here's another, people love this one. Not necessarily wow, but it shows people her creativity. And I mean, first of all, expression, just, like subtle changes, but, as opposed to just having one image of this little girl kind of looking anxiety ridden, she was thoughtful enough to have four of her running around, which just makes it even more panicky. and classic, and people just love that. It shows a lot of creativity in layouts and composition.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And let's see what else. Oh, this is a wow piece from Dave Zalay. He, that the blue and the red and the little town below and the perspective. I mean, people always go nuts over this as well. I mean, it's, you're kind of flipping through saying, this artwork is really nice. And then they go, oh, I love this one. So we look for that too. We look for that one piece that, am I back now?
You are.
There we
yes,
go.
Now you are.
We look for that one piece, one or hopefully several, or maybe all of them that you go, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So we look for that. And then obviously character development is big. Just in general, it's all that we hear from our clients in every genre and age group is that, you got to be able to come up with really interesting characters and illustrate them in a way that tells us a little bit about them and about their personality. And so we look for that, and that's a lot of what a lot of our clients say, hey, is that a dummy? For instance, like this piece, this was a promotional mailing, you see, from Kelly Kennedy, that we got a ton of inquiries about. This was the front.
Oh, wow.
So he's being saved from the fire. And then this is the back where, he leaves a little thank you treat. But we got a ton. I mean, I saw this on 3 different client walls when I did my client visits, which is what you want. You want it to go up on a bulletin board so that they're reminded of it at all times. And I got a lot of email inquiries about this. Like, is this a story? If it's not, can he write it immediately?
Oh, wow.
I want to read it.
It already is a story on a postcard, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And he, he's like, oh, I don't know if I can write that. Like, you just did. This is the story. Just expand upon it and give the guy a backstory, because he obviously has a little bit. So, that kind of character is what people are looking for. We got that a lot for this too. This was another postcard for Holly Hatam. She did these like adorable little characters, and again, people were like, are those characters from a book? If they're not, they have to be. Have her write it. Because, it's like this adorable little girl with the red glasses, and she's like running all funny. And then she has a little unicorn mermaid friend. I mean, it's like the sidekick, the quirky girl and the sidekick. I mean, she's created these characters. And
it's a buddy story.
Where it goes. Right. Exactly. So, that we look for that too.
Wonderful. Yeah. There's some questions coming in, Christy, about the actual picture book submission package that you would like to see for some people who want to take it to more than just the postcard submission. Is this a good time for that, or do you want to talk about
absolutely, that? Absolutely, yes. Via email. We have submission guidelines on our website, and that's actually something that I encourage everybody to always look for when they are submitting to anyone, whether it be a publisher or an agent. Look for the submission guidelines. If they don't exist, then you can make up your own. But if they do, then be sure to follow them, because it's kind of like, it's the same idea as a cover letter for when you're applying for a job. You don't want to mess that up. So our submission guidelines are, if you're submitting for illustration only, I like to see, just like a brief cover letter on you, as in email form, and then a link to your website, because everybody should have a website that's been updated, and then also maybe 4 to 6 reasonably sized JPEGs of your work, so I can check it out and then do a deeper dive if I'm interested in going to your website and seeing more samples. As far as a dummy book or anybody who's an author illustrator, same thing, except mention that you have a dummy book. Maybe do the elevator pitch for your book. So just a little cover letter email about you, and say I'm an author illustrator. I've written a story about a little girl and her unicorn mermaid friend who take on knights, or who knows. And do you want to see that? Here is an example of my work, especially if you have done any pieces, any finished pieces from the dummy. If you've done a dummy book, include those pieces. So say, here's an example of, from the dummy that I've written. We don't really love it when we get entire manuscripts and or dummies emailed to us right away.
Okay, make a connection first.
Yes, because sometimes they're really big. People don't necessarily condense them first, and so they're just these enormous files. And it just is, if you have a link to the dummy, that's helpful too, because then we can just go to that. But definitely do not send a giant PDF of the dummy, and just dip a toe in and say, here's an example of my work. This is the little elevator pitch on my dummy. Do you have interest in seeing it?
That is so key. Very good.
And that's what I do when I submit to publishers. I don't just dump a bunch of manuscripts or dummies on their laps. I reach out to them and say, I've got this dummy. Here's a little blurb about it. Here is an example from it. An illustration example from it, or maybe the two main characters, or whatever I have illustration wise. Do you have any interest in seeing it? Because they should have the opportunity to say no, and not have their inbox filled with giant files of PDFs.
Illustrators, that puts more urgency on you about the art, doesn't it? Because it's the art that will pique their interest. Wow.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's why we start with the artwork too. If I take a look at somebody's artwork who says that they have a dummy for me to take a look with, and I don't connect with the artwork, I'm not going to want to see the whole dummy, because I don't want to divorce those two things either. I don't want to say, hey, listen, I really liked this story, but I don't find the artwork appealing. Let's separate the two, and I'll try to sell this manuscript. I'm not going to do that. It's going to either go in as an all or nothing kind of thing. So it's important for me to take a look at the artwork first. And I think a lot of our publisher clients who are looking for author illustrated works do the exact same thing. If they take a look at the artwork and it doesn't appeal to them, they're not going to want to see the whole story.
Do you like your submission sent to you? Then does it matter whether they're sent to you as PDF postcards or a snail mail sent printed postcards?
Either way, I love snail mail. It's really great to get it. Certainly, who doesn't love that? And then it could make it up onto my bulletin board. But I also, I always check email, and like I think I said in my prompt, I try to get back to as many people as I possibly can, or I shoot it over to my mother and she gets back to whomever because she's so good about it. But I do. We're always checking email. So either email or snail mail is just fine. Either way.
Okay, great.
And it's also a good idea to nudge me if you don't hear back, because sometimes the inbox gets full and I'm shifting through, and I'm just quickly going through emails and it gets marked read, but I haven't really read it. So
How do you and your mom feel about people that are sending you an email that just points to their website or their illustrator's blog, online portfolio, or their Instagram account, something like that? What is that useful to you? Or
yeah, I'm not going to not look. Like I said, I think our submission guidelines are to include small JPEGs.
And small, sent as attachments or as?
Yes, as attachments. Yeah,
okay.
4 to 6.
Everybody's different, aren't they, about what they want to see?
Yeah, yes, we definitely do want a link to a website of some kind, even if it's just Instagram.
Okay.
To check out a larger body of work if we're interested, but and same goes for client. We kind of do what our clients do, which is, you want to be able to just like open up an email and there it is. You don't want to have to click through, to
work
see
hard. Yeah.
And it takes you takes you off just that much that it may be missed. So it's really nice to just be able to like open up an email, scroll through, say, ooh, I really like this.
Okay.
And then take a deeper dive by going to the link.
The JPEG right there in the body of the email.
Yes, yeah.
So that would mean a JPEG of what, maybe 600 or 700 pixels wide, or do you have a feeling for size? Is it in your submission? I should have.
I actually don't think I have the size in there. I mean, just reasonably sized, you know,
just
send
not a 3,000.
4 megs.
Yeah.
Like anything over 3 or 4 megs, I'm not, you know, it's like, just make it smaller.
They never load on your server. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Common sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you're sending photos, guys, to family photos to friends or something like that. Think about that.
Right.
The convenience of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any more questions?
Well, let me just scare the wall.
Because I can talk about
how long should they feel like they can wait for a nudge or before they nudge you again, or do you want them to nudge you? I mean,
that's a good question. I think maybe I'd say anywhere between like 2 weeks and any longer than 2 weeks. I mean,
oh wow,
it gets you know, I don't want it to be too long because I don't want to just blow people off for good. But and I know that when you send out your work, you want instant gratification, and I understand that as well. But it is a little bit. I've had a couple of submissions that get a little pushy.
Yeah.
You know, like 2 days later, like, have you had a chance to look at my work? And it's like, okay, it's been 2 days. You know, I need a break. I need a little bit of a breather. You know, I try to put everything into a folder, and then like on a Friday night or something, sit down and really go through and put my focus on that. But, you know, I can't always pull myself away to focus on that in the middle of the day on, you know, just so, yeah, I'd say if like 2 or 3 weeks go by and you haven't heard from me, you know, just kind of resending what you sent before, and I'll go, I'm sorry, I'll take a look at it, you know, because I do need to be reminded and I need to be nudged, but just not in any, you know, kind of, it doesn't have to be instant.
Just be human, guys. Right? Treat our agents like human beings.
Especially in the wintertime when there are a million snow days in a row. I need a little.
Okay, and then Linda's asking about the artwork. You mentioned stiffness as a common flaw. What other flaws do you often see? Well, I think Linda, she'll address that when she goes into the critique section. That's where we use that. But let me stop. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. I have like a little bit of a checklist of pitfalls that because you
okay.
I know I'm kind of talking forever. We'll probably get to the critique, but just a few.
Great.
Right off the top of my head. Old and outdated work should be not in your portfolio. If you illustrated a book in 2002 with a Random House, then that is great, but I don't think that work should be in your portfolio. That's the kind of thing to note when you are sending, you know, in your little cover letter about yourself, anything that you've created, you know, book-wise, but it shouldn't, just because it was a book done with Random House doesn't mean that it should be in your portfolio, especially if it's that old. So anything that's outdated or, you know, even if your style hasn't changed at all in that amount of time, it should be current work because it's obvious to us and to our clients what is old.
Oh, wow. Okay. Fresh work, fresh in the portfolio.
Fresh work.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and especially if your style has evolved or if you're using a different medium or something, I mean, just do what, you know, if you were hired to do a job, you know, what you have in your portfolio should mirror what you're going to do if you're hired. So it, you know, stuff that's 15 years old, I don't know if it's really that relevant. Also, it kind of looks like it, you know, stuff from the early 2000s, you can usually say, hey, that looks like it was from the early 2000s. You know? Wow. Right? I mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah, and particularly, but in your business, you're keeping up with exactly that. So you probably have a very keen eye. Oh, of course you do.
I mean, you want to kind of stay on trend a little bit, and you know, things do look outdated, but like anything else, it's a cyclical thing. I'm sure outdated now will be, you know, trending in 5 years from now. But you know, for now you can usually tell if things are outdated. Too many styles or mediums. I see that a lot too. Sometimes
Oh.
you should know who you're sending to. So, I get a lot of portfolios that have are very heavily editorial, and I write back and say, you have maybe 2 pieces in here that could pass for children's illustration, and the rest is really editorial work. I can't use this. I can't help you until you expand upon the children's work that you have. And then also just, some people will send me either very highly have a style of very, very highly rendered digital work, and then also watercolors in the same portfolio. And those overwhelm me, they overwhelm clients. And we need to know what we're going to get if you're being hired for a job. If you have two, if it doesn't even look like the same illustrator has illustrated the pieces in your portfolio, you've got a problem, because no one's going to know who you are or what to expect from you. It's perfectly acceptable to have several different age ranges and genres. Somebody who has picture book work and then also does a cover or something very, like a YA cover or something, but it's still in their style using the medium that they usually use. That's great. But to have if your work looks like different people could have created it, you need to pick one and go with that.
You want them to speak in one voice. You want to hear the illustrator's one voice coming through.
Yes.
But can it, if it accomplishes that, can he or she still submit something in both digital and traditional mediums?
Yes, absolutely.
The point is that the feeling of this is her. I know her work.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
It really is hard to explain, but you want to keep it looking you. So you can go, you can appeal to many different clients and genres and age groups, so long as it looks like you. I'm saying, if like these two, for instance, if these were in the same portfolio, I'd say, who are you?
Yeah.
It's hard. I don't have good examples right here, but you just want it to look like your style, and we're looking for a unique style. Everybody's looking for a unique style, and you can have fun with it and create new pieces and be very creative and think outside the box, but just don't have 1 or 2 pieces in there that's way out in left field, and then it throws people off. And it's okay. Once you have a name for yourself as an illustrator, if you're a well-known illustrator, you can do whatever you want in your portfolio. Holly Hatam is constantly churning out new stuff that looks nothing like her old stuff. And it's okay, because she's got a name for herself now. But if you're a fledgling illustrator and nobody knows who you are, you need to find who you are and then show that work and keep it consistent. Another pitfall that I see is too many presentational pieces. And by that, I mean, and this is something that I hear from clients all the time, from art directors. If you have your entire portfolio looking as if you're looking at a stage, imagine you're at a musical or something, or at a play, and you're looking at it from the audience and it's on a stage, and that's your only point of view.
Okay.
That's great. And that's how a lot of illustrations are illustrated. But you also want to see it from, because you're an illustrator and you're creating this, you have the world at your fingertips. You can look at anything from any point of view. You can do a bird's eye view. You can be down looking up. You can, do an extreme close up on somebody's face, or you can pull back and do a huge city scene with buildings and dogs and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. You have the ability to do whatever you want and look at the world from a point of view in which you may not be able to as a real person in real life, and that's thrilling for not only illustrators and art directors and people looking at it and wanting to hire you, but for children as well, to look at things from a totally different point of view, doing like cross sections and looking underground. I mean, really anything. So one of the big pitfalls that we see is just a presentational, meaning just straight on looking at something flatly, and that's my scene. So it's, so we're like, we encourage people to look at things differently and don't have everything just be from straight on, have it be from the point of view of whatever and whomever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are great. Yeah.
And then I covered that. And my last pitfall is having a general knowledge of technology and scanning. And this is a little bit, hypocritical because I'm not exactly a technological whiz, Mark. But if you're working traditionally and you need to scan your images, a lot of our clients don't even. I mean, they'll accept original artwork in the mail and they'll do the scanning. Of course, they'll do that. But a lot of times they rely on the artist to do the scanning themselves and send digital files of final artwork, even if it's traditional. So you have to have a working knowledge of that, and that's something, again, if somebody sends me a huge file, as their samples, I know immediately that they don't have the knowledge to not send me a 13 megabyte picture, JPEG. Right. I'm like, ugh. Right. But you have to know, just basic Photoshop knowledge so that, you could do a quick mock-up of, like these covers, just quickly throw a title or whatever in there. Just really basic knowledge. And then also just scanning and understanding how to change the size of a digital file. It's big. Yeah. That's a big deal. And that's something that we look for and something that the clients look for as well. And that's a good flag.
And it's a question we get in our group all the time, Christy. And sometimes it's just a good idea just to go make friends with a local printer who works with a lot of designers and artists and rely on them for your postcards and your scanning of pieces, because it can get a little overwhelming and you don't need to be spending $3,000 on a printer if you can go down to the local to a designer print shop and have them. I mean, so very good. That's a great point.
Yeah.
And that the artists know that the publishers no longer necessarily want to be seeing original pieces coming in, and they I mean, in this day and age, it they're not insisting upon original artwork to be sent to the publisher because that could be risky. It's safer for you.
How many times in the past when it used to be all snail mail or FedEx, how many times original artwork got lost in the mail? I mean, it happens. So, the publishers don't want to be responsible for that. You don't want to be responsible for that. So, a lot of times you got to know how to do it or know where to take it, but to be done. I mean, you don't have to do the professional scanning yourself, but find a place to do it. But even just scanning in your sketches, and being able to send those in. If you're doing a book, you have to be able to send it in digitally. You can't send in original sketches for the work that you're doing for a client. So you have to know how to scan those in and send them, with some sort of file sharing, something or other that doesn't make
so you can communicate. You can communicate with your agent and the editor during the draft process. And it's
precisely
a good point. I'm checking for questions because that was, guys, let's not let Christy answer the technical questions because we're hearing so much good stuff from her. You guys can get these answers online and with your artist friends.
Oh, sorry. I opened up a can of worms, didn't I?
No. They are asking just the questions, and this stuff is learnable and find outable, and you've got community resources, in your backyard that can help you with that. Okay, good. Okay, those were great, great pitfalls to watch for, Christy. Much appreciated.
Okay, good. Yeah, those were just off the top of my head because there's just ones that. There's more, I'm sure. Like those are the big ones.
And some of it's counterintuitive to things we've been hearing and to things we've been hearing over the last 20 years. Some of us, things have changed. Okay, good. Well, so do you have something else for us?
I know. I mean, I think we could probably move on to the critique.
Move on to the critique. Great, great. They're saying having things in the cloud.
Oh God.
So having things in the cloud. I guess what they mean by that is sending you as an agent to links that open up artwork on Instagram or on mobile device. I guess, how do you feel about this whole business of artists and illustrators keeping their work in the cloud, maybe not necessarily on their website or their online blog? Or
I don't know. I think there's this is just I think it's subjective, because there's a lot of different opinions on this. My personal opinion is that personal websites say a lot about somebody, the way that they've what template they've used, how they put it together, how
they are
themselves. We always, and clients also, they always ask us. That's why we have a little bio blurb at the end of everybody's portfolio with a little picture, because clients ask. They want to know what interesting things about this person. They literally will say, are they into gardening? Are they foodies? They want to know these things. That's why, Melissa EY has a blog. She's one of our illustrators. She has a blog that's called like the Starving Artist, I think. Or the Hungry Artist.
Okay.
Because she also is a foodie, and she likes to marry those two things. She's just written Pizza Day, and she wrote Soup Day for Christy Tugeau books. And so she likes to put those two things together. And that's a really interesting thing about her, that Christy, who has her own imprint with Henry Holt, loved about Melissa and said, what ideas do you have that, now with this whole foodie movement and trying to encourage kids to eat healthier, what ideas do you have? And Melissa just said, I got these two book ideas, and here we go. She has two. So they want to know those things. They want to know where you're from, if you're international, what your background is, where you went to school. They want to know those things. So I think websites and blogs and things like that you can, it says a lot about you as a person, and we're just as interested as clients are to find out more about you. And going to your Instagram page is great, because a lot of people share sketches there. So we see a whole new, we see the branches of your career and your life in Instagram. Sometimes we see family members, and we see like really quick little things that you've whipped up, or a process video or something like that, which is also really cool to visit and experience for us. But I think you should have both.
That's really, really great.
A professional website, and then you should also be active on social media and showing different facets of yourself so that we can learn more about you.
Okay, that is a wonderful tip. But the bottom line there, guys, is your own special place online where you get to be yourself. That's what they want to know. They want to know who you are.
Yeah, website, just even right down to the website design does say a lot about an illustrator. And
sadly, it does.
Yeah, I mean, it's a visual. If we were accountants, that would be one thing. Like we wouldn't be expected to have like a beautiful website. It would have to be
attorneys or accountants are different. Yeah.
But I mean, we're working with artists and graphic designers and people that are wildly creative. You could, so it's a really nice way of expressing yourself and showing off your talents and showcasing what you have to offer. And, and it really does say a lot about you as a person and artist. So I recommend a website.
Dynamite. Okay, great. Well, I think, so we don't wear you out because we know how busy you are. Let's move over to the portfolio. If guys, there's still time for some more questions, so don't hesitate. And then we'll round up as many of your questions as we can. If there's a bunch left over, and I'll shoot them to Christy. But let's not. We would keep you here, Christy. We would keep you here, till midnight tonight if we had our way. But we're not going to do that to you. So, do you want to go into the folder and?
So how do I do?
You want to do the screen share, and I'll give you the link to or would you like me to run to the folder and you tell me when to shift slides? I'm going to give you the folder link that I know you already have, but and then you could open that. But I could also just I could run the slides for you, but you just need to show me where to go.
Okay.
Let me.
So will you just pull up? You'll just pull up the illustration, and then I can speak to it.
Would that be easiest for you? Yes. You can, yeah, we can go either way. I just put the link in our little control room chat window. And if you click that link, it should open the folder on a separate browser. And
yes.
You can just go and you'll share your screen again and go into that browser window. And
okay.
So do you see that link?
Yes.
Okay.
I got it. And I'm going to do screen share. Of course, my email.
And then yeah, you might have to open.
So can you see
there it is. We sure can see it. Can you guys see that? Okay. Yeah, that looks great. So that way you've got control and you can drive.
Okay. Great. Let's see. What is first? Scary Anne first. Here we go. Okay. So here's the first one that I critiqued. You can hear me and everything's good?
Is everything good, guys? Can you see the images? I can see them on my browser window. How about y'all? I'm seeing Scary Anne.
Okay, great. Okay, so this I was immediately drawn to. I think this illustrator has done a really great job. It looks like a young chapter book to me, kind of along the same lines as like maybe Heidi Heckelbeck or something like that. The composition of this really stood out to me. She's in the center. I love the big moon and the contrast, having the title over the moon is really nice and everything's centered. I like the asymmetrical branches coming in, 2 on one side, 1 on the other. Same with the bats. I like things in 3s. The black of the cats and the bats and the Scary Anne is a really nice, it pops nicely against the blue and purple background. So it just jumps right out at you. I like that contrast. And the light on her face. I'm not sure what the source is, but I like it. Her face is lit up a little bit. Maybe it's that brew that she's stirring or something. I really like how it lit up her little face. Those are some things that initially popped right out at me. She does, to have a few critiques. She does look a little bit young. Obviously she's a vampire witch, so it's hard to really say how young she is. But she does, she looks like she might be appealing to the 5-year-old age group. And this, I think this is something I mentioned in my prompt. You just want to make sure that you're aging up a little bit. So if you want, 7 and 8-year-olds to be reading this, just make sure that she looks 7 and 8. Maybe just elongate her face just a tad. And maybe play with her eye shape. The eye shape I love how her eyes are yellow, orange.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love it. But, maybe just play with them a little bit. I think they don't have a lot of, they have a lot of youth in them. They don't have a lot of else in them. Maybe just, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. I'm like, those are the eyes that maybe I would do. And I'm kind of I'm a very amateur artist. So I'm like, all right, I think that they could have like a little bit more personality behind them.
Okay. Yeah.
And even just tilting them a tad might do it. And then her expression is just kind of happy. She does her eyebrows make her look a little bit worried or apprehensive, which I think is good, but maybe the expression could be a little bit more telling about what the story is. I like how the cats have 2 different expressions going on. One looks evil and one looks nice. So, what's her motivation? What is she thinking? Is she happy? Is she sad? Is she, or is she just posing for a picture? But I think overall, this one stood out to me as a real, a really nice example of something that I would definitely pick up and look through.
Okay, great.
Now the next one I have written down here is The Little Prince, which is not opening. It's probably me.
No, let's see.
Oh, here we go. There we go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I really, again, I think the composition here is really nice. The red popping out from that blue is striking. This is obviously a cover that has been done many times over. And I think it's a nice update to what has already been done. The color choices are top notch. I think, anything that catches your eye is good, and this certainly does with the red fox. I really like the texture of the fox, by the way. It almost looks like a linoleum cut. I'm wondering if that's
it's interesting. Yeah, it looks digital to me, but maybe Natalie can tell us in the chat comments what medium.
I mean, I don't know. It just,
Kathy, you too, Kathy, on the Scary Witch. Tell us what medium you worked in.
Yeah, that would be great. It would be great to know, because it took me a minute to really take another look at the fox, and I think the texture there is kind of cool.
You like the texture? Yeah, it is scratchy and furry for sure.
Yeah. The hand lettering is beautiful. It's really nicely done. And I like it. She has paid homage to the original, but updated it in a really nice way and in a stylized way. I mean, the Little Prince has always been a very stylized illustration, and she's kept it in what I assume is her style, but updated it. Let's see, cons. My only con to this was that she's not taking any chances. It's a little bit similar to some other covers that I've seen of this story, and so it just is kind of parallel to those. It's not really knocking anybody off their seat, and like, whoa, this is a new way of looking at this cover. One that I did see, a really cool mock cover, which was the Little Prince in silhouette, and kind of like a textured silhouette against like a grainy blue night sky with abstract yellow stars, and that knocked me off my seat. I thought that was really cool to look at it. It's the same idea, including all of the same elements from the cover, but rethinking it, with a silhouette, and then having abstract stars as opposed to being too literal with everything. So just something to think about, that to kick it up a notch by really thinking different. Let's see. What else do I have? Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Let's see. Where's that?
Oh, Natalie says, yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Yes, I was going for the line of cut look with my scanned drawing, then finished it digitally. Okay. So
okay.
That's good.
Good. Okay. Awesome. I'm glad that I think that was really cool. Yeah, I thought that was really neat. After at second glance, I was like, wait a minute, how did she do this? Okay, so this cover, I really I at first I was like, and then I had to double back and say, this is kind of great. The way that it's just like an old, the layout is fantastic. It's kind of like an old school throwback to books that I used to read when I was younger.
Yeah.
To indicate the fact that it's a bunch of short stories. It felt very nostalgic to me, which I loved, and the layout is great. And I don't know, maybe it's me, I don't see that often anymore, and I really liked it. I love the simple gray background. I was drawn to that as well. At first I was like, maybe there should be a little bit of hint of something in the background, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I like how it's just simple and gray. I really like how she has the ears of the rabbit popping out of the box, as well as the cat. Just those little nuances that make it special. I really enjoyed. Some cons that I've jotted down here, the facial expressions. I understand that this is probably this artist's style, but the title of the book is The Awesome Adventures of Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and they look kind of They don't look like they're having that much fun.
Okay.
They look like they're in a little bit of pain. So maybe it doesn't add up with the title. And Alice has a little bit of a masculine face. I noticed, you know, so you're just playing around with the faces maybe, and the expressions might make it a little bit more appealing. And the red strip across the top I found to be a little bit distracting as far as layout goes, or composition. I would either give it a border all the way around or carry the gray all the way up to the top. I like the boxes at the bottom. I think that's a really nice feature, but the red strip was throwing me off. So I think you could do kind of an elaborate border, going with that red, kind of carrying that throughout, and then maybe adding a little details or a touch, in the corners or something like that, or just get rid of it altogether. But I like this. It's fun. It's reminding me of happy reading times. The next one I critiqued was Bubblegum Wars, and if Amanda is watching, hello. I recognize her name, and I believe we met at the Agent Editor Day for the New England SCBWI conference.
Very good.
So hi. This I immediately was like, this is really great. Again, it was kind of it gave me a little bit of a throwback feel to, I don't know, like a Sweet Valley High or something like that. To read. The composition is great. The two girls coming in from either side, taking up a lot of the cover with their faces. I love the lined paper backdrop, which gives you the idea that it's taking place at school, or at least it gives me that impression. I think that's a really nice touch. And the bubblegum pink text is great. It jumps out at you. It ties in with the one girl's glasses. That was a good decision. It's intriguing. I would definitely pick this up to read the jacket and find out more about what this is about. As far as the characters go, the racial diversity is great. It's good to see. I'm wondering though if the sunglasses are part of the story, and if they are, then that's great. But if they're not, I think that they should go, because the eyes are a very important part of a character and a person. So not being able to see their eyes and their facial expressions I think it hurts the cover. But if them wearing sunglasses has something to do with the story, then it's necessary. So that's just something to keep in mind. We want to be able to see them. So some cons that I jotted down, the smears of pink, or the kind of the washes of pink behind, are a little bit distracting, especially the one coming out of the head of the girl on the left. That threw me off a bit. I like the ones up at the top of the page, but the one on the left-hand side of the page, I think it could do without. The eyes, made a note of. And then I would also use a model. I would recommend using a model for this to create these characters, because there's something that is off to me about the lips and the mouths and the chins of these characters. Blowing bubbles. I know it's kind of a weird facial contortion when you're blowing a bubble, but that's why I think using a model might help it look a little bit more realistic. And these characters seem stiff, and it just, there's something that's off for me. So I would definitely use a model. Those are my notes on that. And maybe make the bubbles different sizes.
Very helpful.
Someone should be winning if it's a war, right?
Very helpful. Yeah. Contrast. Yeah.
The next one I wanted to point out, is point. This is interesting. I think that this is a really successful cover, in the way that shoe, the point shoes, are punctuating the title, and I think that that's really clever, and it makes a great statement. I would pick this book up in a nanosecond, given that. I mean, it's bold, it's strong, it's sending a message immediately. It's punctuating the entire thing, and I think that is really successful. I would suggest maybe leaving it at that, because I'm not sure what medium she worked in. It's like maybe colored pencils. Part of it may even look like crayon, but maybe that's because I see so many crayon drawings these days. But it looks a little bit amateur from that point of view. It looks,
the use of that medium.
Right. Yeah. So it's while the idea of it is making a really strong and mature statement, it's not paralleling the medium. The medium is soft, and it doesn't add up to me. So I would consider using a different medium for this, maybe like painting it. If you want it to look kind of childish, then that has to be obvious right away. And it's not to me, so I don't think that was the motivation. But the other figures, I think the two other figures are kind of superfluous here. I think, if they're really important to the story, maybe having them on two different planes, like the one on the left be way far back, and then have a middle ground with the one leaping. But again, I think that needs to be a little bit more obvious, or they can be left out altogether. I think like a black background or something dark within that foot, that leg coming down in the middle would be just super striking. And I think that the other figures distract you from that. And especially another reason to take out the other women would be that, for ballet books or any sort of dance or gymnastic books, they need to be highly researched and highly accurate. This is where figure drawing really comes into play. You need to know how to
the precision of the discipline is there. Yeah.
One of our illustrators did a book about the Nutcracker Ballet, and she spent months and months and months researching how to draw ballerinas, and it is not easy. It nearly killed her, but it's just really important to do it. So if you don't have that down pat, don't try, I think that's my opinion. And then just little things like the laces don't go up that high, just things that just need to be researched. That's just another important thing about illustrating is accuracy. So, but I do really like the whole composition here, and I think it's really well thought out. Let's see, Carrie's audition.
I want to quick note here. Amanda says, thanks for the feedback, Christy. It was so fun to connect through this forum. Your specific points are very helpful.
Oh, great. Thanks, Amanda. She's really sweet. Okay, so Carrie's audition. Some of the pros, I really like the line work here. It strikes me as being a little bit different, and I liked that immediately. And we have a lot of nice insight into the character here. Between the costume and the stance, we're getting a little bit of who Carrie is, with the hat and the no shoes and the three-piece suit. But a couple of cons that I thought, with this, one note would be to make the banner and the stage run the entire length of the top of the image. I mean, that's the title, and I don't think that the line of people, unless that's really necessary to the story, I don't think it's necessary to the cover. So you could just get rid of that whole line, move Carrie's audition in the stage to take over the entire top of the illustration, and maybe center Carrie a bit. I think that this is a really great opportunity to play with light. A lot of our clients that are looking for book covers and not actually just illustrations in general, as I've mentioned, really look for the use of light. And this is a really good opportunity. Between the light shining on the title and the spotlight on Carrie, you have the opportunity to just, to really make it special. And I feel like it's a lost opportunity here. It's, whoever illustrated this is not using that. And it's there, you could do something really cool with the spotlight.
Yeah.
And then just like little things like the toes on her right foot. look a little bit deformed. And if that's not part of the story, then that should be fixed. That's distracting. And or give her shoes.
Okay.
But I thought that this was it. I like it. It's a good start, definitely. Let's see, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim is another one. I had trouble. I'll be honest. I had trouble finding any criticism for this. I couldn't find any.
Great.
But I wanted to use this as an example of a fantastic job. Again, this is a classic that's been reimagined really well. It's been done several times over, and this might be my favorite that I've seen. You're immediately sucked in by the blue tones and the grays. It's dramatic, and I immediately was drawn to it. The body language of the rats and the expressions are subtle, but very telling. They're little animals and little rats, but you can tell like the second one in from the left is really trying hard, and as is the last one on the right there with his shoulder up, he's really pulling. I mean, you get a lot of information from just the slightest tweaks in body. You get a lot of information, and it's terrific. The composition guides the eye around the page beautifully. Between the rats making their way across the page and the grasses on the left are coming up to frame the image and bring the eye down to the little rat who's, reminding them to be quiet or whatever, or guiding them or whatever. It just, your eye, the way that she or he has done this is just brings your eye around the page beautifully. And here is a good example of the use of light. I mean, you can tell the moonlight is shining down on the tops of their heads. He or she has done an incredible job at making it clear that there's a moon up there. We don't see it, but we know it's there.
We know it's there. It's echoed by the letter, the fonts, or the title with the white.
Right. Exactly. Yep. That was another note. The darker blue at the top allows for that white text to pop, and it also vignettes the rats and the main scene of what's going on below. So it just, I really looked for something that I could say that I did not think was working here, and I couldn't find anything. So
that's great. Wow.
Congratulations to whoever did that one.
Congratulations. Take a bow. Artist.
I tried so hard.
Well, the way the values are orchestrated, the darks, lights, and midtones has obviously been given a lot of thought to make the most of those values, right? With just the blue, white, and the
right. Oh yeah.
Grays and blacks. So
yeah.
Very cool.
It's just a great example of how you don't have a pop of. To have an image pop, you don't necessarily have to have a million different colors or anything that's overly bright,
Maria's piece. So way to go, Maria.
Good job, Maria.
Good job, Maria.
Okay, the next one that I have is the Graveyard book. Where is this? Oh, I see some new ones, guys.
Well, don't.
There, I won't. Where's the Graveyard book? I don't see it.
I'm looking through mine. Here.
Oh.
You see it?
Here we go. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. I wanted to do these back to back because I think that there are a lot of similarities between these two. One was successful. This one I don't find as successful. It's another classic being kind of reimagined, and I think maybe not as as effective. This was another opportunity to really play with light. That huge moon coming in, you could have a really striking stop you in your tracks scene here. And I think it was a missed opportunity. Between those two eerie figures and the moonlight shining down, and they're in a graveyard, it would cast the most beautiful, albeit creepy shadow on this scene. And it would hit the church in an amazing way, and the gravestones, and it would illuminate the two main characters in the center of the illustration. And none of that is happening. It's all it's blending together, I think, in a way that is not, the things that are popping out to me is the shadowy little guy on the left by the church, and what is this?
The fence,
the gate in the front. I mean, those are popping out, and that's not what you want to see first. So it's just a little flat, and I think there's a lack of contrast, and it's making it a little bit less intriguing. And also the title of the book, which is important, is being washed out in the busyness of the image.
So it's a values issue, isn't it? There's so much midtone, and what's popping out to you is the black, the contrast.
Right. Yeah. Things that are not necessarily the most, important parts of the book, or what, it doesn't grab you. I do think that, however, that this is a nice sample. It's mysterious and intriguing, and I like the layers, the background, all the way in the background there, and the church. It's nice. I really like the texture in the sky. I just think, as far as grabbing you to want to read it, it's falling short.
Okay. The figures are nice.
Yes.
Do you think?
Yeah. I mean, if you when you pick it apart, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just, as far as jumping out from the shelves, it's not successful, I don't think.
The lighting issue. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, the snow dragon. This I loved. I loved it. The red and the use of white space is fantastic. I mean, talk about jumping out as you walk by. It really catches your eye. And the coiling of the dragon, just kind of organically pulls your eye around to reveal the sneaky knight, whose body language, he's tiny, but his body language is hilarious. Great.
Yeah.
And then it eventually reveals the treasure, and then you look further and you see the bones, and it's like, it's great. It's a wonderful reveal with your eye. First it grabs you by like, oh, what's this red dragon? And then it takes you on this journey, and I think it's fantastic. And the footprints in the snow are great. The yellow eyes of the dragon and the blue on the knight contrasting with the red is terrific. And the way that the dragon is going off the page to show its enormity is great. Again, I really don't have any critiques for this. But it did, the last couple ones bring me to bring up a point that I have starred a million times, is a little trick that one of the art directors, who's been around for a very long time at Penguin Random House, she was working with one of our illustrators and had this incredible insight. And it was, you want to, the use of light and contrast is so important. And to test yourself, make your image and make your illustration black and white. And then you will see whether or not you're successful with, with this contrast. If everything, like our last one, the graveyard book, would be it would be muddy. You wouldn't really be able to see anything. If you were to make the snow dragon black and white, it would still pop just as much as it does in red. And it would, obviously the white background is helping with that, but you know what I mean? I think, it would
be just as dramatic, every bit as dramatic.
Right. Yeah. And, and same goes for the Rats of Nim. I think if you were to make that black and white, it would be a little bit muddy, but there would be parts that popped, and you'd still be able to get that drama. Yeah. And I think that's a really good way of just testing yourself. If you're not sure, make it black and white, and then you'll be sure.
Yeah, take a picture of it in your cell phone and adjust it to monochrome.
Exactly. This, I wanted to talk about the Spike and the Wee Sea Folk.
Okay.
Such a cute title. It's not popping up, but
it takes a minute.
Oh, here we go.
There we
go. It's obviously just a quick, just a beginning sketch, but I think it has a lot of good beginnings, good start. The framing and the nautical ropes and the knots is clever, and it's drawing the eye in to where the action is taking place, which is great. And there's a lot of layers to the story here. You have the friendly dragon who looks like he's wearing glasses, which is pretty awesome if that's the case. And then the castle and the ship in the distance, and you're introducing the two main characters. Looks like the little girl and the dragon, and their potential adventures with
she has been working. This is her original story that she has been working on for months and months.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Well, I'm
yeah.
intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued by the story, just given this little sketch here. I mean, it's great. I would, just a couple of things that I would do is to make the title and the author name a little bit bigger to fill that space. You've got space, so use it. You don't want to overpower the image itself, but it can be a little bit bigger. And then I think when finishing this, I don't know this person's style or how she works, but I would use bright color and or pops of bright color to jump out, because I have a feeling that this is going to be a busy scene when it's done. There's ocean and there's land and there's a castle and there's people and there's all kinds of stuff going on. So it's important to make that dragon and the girl pop out and jump out, and however she chooses to do that, then just make sure that they pop.
Great, great.
Let's see. Oh, the ping pong cover. Where is it? Here we go. This I loved. I love the choices that were made here. The character herself, she's non-white, which is fantastic to see. It's just one of those things we're always striving for more diversity in books, and it's nice to see a main character who's non-white. The art style I really like. I like the decisions she's made to put those blue and pink pastel accents on her skin. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
It seems like it's very true to her as an artist. Him or her, I'm not sure if this is a man or a woman. The green glasses gives you a little bit of insight into the girl and her hair and the way she's standing. Without knowing the title or anything about the book, I know a lot. She plays ping pong, which is amazing. There are no ping pong stories out there, I don't think. She has a cat sidekick. She's got style and a little bit of sass. So I think this is a great chapter book introduction here. The cons, I think the background is unnecessary. I think it's distracting and it's not really adding anything. So I think it would be enough to take out the window or the panel or whatever that is, and just have the ping pong table coming in from the side, and then do really cool lettering for the title and the author's name.
Oh, and just a general background, like the blue at the top coming down or something like that?
It could be any. Okay. It could be that kind of yellowy cream color. It could be
that color. You don't mind the color.
Okay. Right, but it doesn't need to have any details, like the grass or the bush or whatever that is in the background.
Okay.
And the cat, if the cat is jumping, we just want to make sure that that's how cats jump. It looks a little awkward. And if he's not jumping, then why is he so high off the ground? These are things that we just need to think.
Oh yeah, he's waist high to her.
Right. So, and then his expression too, he looks a little annoyed. Is he supposed to be annoyed? So just some things to think about while moving forward. But I think this is really successful.
Great, Julia.
Another one is Hoot. I wanted to talk about. I love this. I love the painterly feel of it, of this simple cover. It's much like the original cover, which I absolutely love. It's simple, and the texture of the painting is really nice. It's a little Van Gogh-ish maybe, but I really love this painting, and the eyes popping and the beak. I think that from the composition or just like kind of a layout point of view, taking up the entire cover with the painting, that's what I would do. And then what else did I say here? Maybe adding something that I can't read. Maybe adding some and then a word I cannot read. Great. Anyway, I would
maybe some background or detail in the foreground.
I know what I was saying. Maybe adding some more blue to the top. Some extending that blue a little bit, putting the Hoot up there, the title up there. I don't know. That's the big block of blue is throwing me off at the bottom. But one thing to think about though is I do think that this painting matures the look of the book a bit, and it may not appeal to middle schoolers. I think the original cover was so simple and so fun that it was very appealing in that way, but it had kind of a fun, funky kind of thing, where middle schoolers are tough. They're a tough crowd. So I feel like maybe they'd look at this and be like, "Oh, is this like an adult book or something?" You know?
Okay, yeah.
So it's something
Animals
to
don't
think
have
about.
quite
You know,
the
you have to
appeal.
appeal to your audience. I don't know if middle schoolers would be into that. That's my point.
Yeah.
And let's see, one more thing. I just wanted to say a few things on a couple that came in kind of late. I loved this. Zara Island. Love this. She's so cute. We know so much about her immediately, and we want to read it. The yellow boots and the yellow umbrella and the yellow title, all great decisions. You know, the diverse character and the cats falling from the sky. I mean, all of it is really, I definitely want to read this. My one criticism was that it's just a little bit too busy. I would take out the front, you know, the bottom plants and flowers, and just leave it just the ground, and then have the name in there. That's what I would do. I would leave the background and the palm trees, but just take out the front. That was my only criticism.
Okay, great.
I think that's fantastic. She's so cute. And then the Pippi Longstocking I wanted to touch upon, because again, this is like such a classic and really well updated. I think that I love the braids coming up and framing the title, because we all know her. You don't even really need to, she comes with no introduction necessary, but I think that that's just such a nice way of updating this. And the illustration style is a little bit updated as well. It almost looks a little bit Disney. She has kind of Disney eyes going on, which can be a positive or negative depending on who you're working for or what publisher you're trying to get in with. But I think that that's a nice update. I love the binding. I think that was really cool. And it just, you know, it just has like a great element of fun. You can still see her freckles, and the lettering is fantastic. And, you know, I thought this was a really, really nice update to a classic, which we've seen a couple of those. And that's it. Those are my only.
That's a lot. Gosh, you've gone through a whole lot more than you were even supposed to. You bent the rules to accommodate lots of artists.
I'm an overachiever, I guess.
You are an overachiever.
No,
this is
I was actually
awesome.
It's not even that. It was just that I was inspired, and they kept coming in, and all these great ones. I mean, I just saw a few that I probably would have done quick critiques to, because, you know, you know, I know it takes a lot of courage to put these up here, and, you know, there was just a lot to take in and to talk about. So
suffice to say that if they worked on these covers and took some of your comments into account and redid them, these would be good things to maybe include in their current portfolio.
Yes.
If you can.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you're interested in breaking, if you're interested in breaking into to those genres, and, you know, depending on whatever age group it was that you did a cover for, if that's something that you want to do, then put it in your portfolio. Yes. Okay. But, you know, remember, it's got to jump out. It has to catch your eye, and using go bold, be bold.
Be bolder, than push yourself a little more, and you think you should do it. Be crazy. Okay.
Yes. And whether it's bold by being super duper simple, or bold by being very detailed and having a lot of things going on, you know, just go big, because you don't want to get lost in the crowd.
Those are such wise words from somebody who works with the market every day, and this has been part of her life since she was a little girl, watching her mom start. And so this is a business, publishing, and it's a very competitive business, and we got to be at our top form, and we got to be fearless, make ourselves fearless, even if we're not. That's a great point, Christy. This has been absolutely awesome. And there's your assistant.
You want to say hi?
And she gives thumbs up and thumbs down on work you're not quite sure about, right?
That's right. Well, I always run everything. Yeah, the picture books for sure. I have really good research assistants for picture books. That's my husband. Everyone's home from school.
Artist husband in the background. Hi. We worked really hard. She worked a whole lot harder than she even needed to. Christy, this has been the equivalent of a weekend conference. You've given us so much. It's been so fabulous. Guys, let's punch in our thank yous for Christy right now so she can get the transcript of that. We have learned an enormous amount in a very short time. It feels like we've been together.
I know. I feel like I mean, it's
in a
been
workshop.
almost 2 hours. I've been.
Oh, it was so great, and the professional tips were just worth thousands of dollars to us. A lot of you've saved us a lot of time with your insights, Christy,
Okay.
and a lot of wheel spinning, a lot of false starts, and so you've just set us on the path. I'm going to put Christy's submission guidelines up in the well, send them to you in the email too. But let's put in your thank yous. Let's let her get back to her life and her job, and Christy, I will send the transcript of their chat that has been going on intensely this whole time, so you can read what they were saying to each other. And
that would be great, because I'm just as curious to like know what kind of questions that people have, because I mean, you don't often think. Oftentimes, when I have dinner with people that we represent, they say, "Can you just tell me what you like?" How you operate, what you do when you go to visit a client. How does that go? And I think to myself, like, how do you not know? But unless I tell you, it's that kind of thing. So I'm curious to hear what questions that people have as well.
Super, very good. Well, you were so articulate. You put words to everything so that everybody could understand. You were so clear, and it was just you did a wonderful job of putting into words and examples of the things you were talking about. So we were thrilled. So stay with me just for a second, Christy, but we're going to wrap up the broadcast. Let me just make sure there's no last minute burning questions. I'm not saying it, just saying incredibly helpful. This was so much. This was better than being at a conference, says Donna. And this was excellent. Thank you so much. This was great. Thank you so much. And all the advice and all the time you put in, you worked really, really hard for us, Christy. So we'll say thank you, and we'll end the broadcast, guys. And the replay will be up on this page within a few minutes. I think it'll be processed, and then I'll edit it just a little bit and put it up in our website go say hi to Christy at a conference. See where she appears, and go see her in person. And
I'll be at the New England SCBWI next month.
Great. So, New England SCBWI next month. Okay. Got it.
And thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening to me blather on and on and on.
It was fabulous. Thank you, Christy. We'll stop the broadcast now. Bye, everybody. And thanks for all the good work y'all turned in.